Hello and good morning, it's Phil Thatch, and today I am on the western ramp of Blythe Ferry. And on the way here, as I was coming in, I saw some deer on the side of the road, so I stopped and made a couple of pictures of those. And let's take a look at that. I was using my Nikon Z8 and the 180-600 for that. Here is the deer photograph. I made it from the driver's seat of the car. This is 250 millimeters with the 180-600, 1/160th of a second ISO 4000 f5.6. And if you look close, as I'll do 100% here, you can see my car that I'm sitting in reflected in the deer's eye. So that's a cute little derpy deer. And then I made it all the way down here to Blythe Ferry, and it's just a beautiful spot to do landscape photography. My friend Dan does landscape photography from here all the time, and there were no birds here, so I thought, you know what, let me do a little landscape photography. So I put my 24-70 f4 lens on, and I've been making a few shots of this little island that's right by the road that goes to what used to be a ferry landing. I've used the Maven 6-stop neutral density filter to do some kind of long exposures. I made a couple looking out in this direction, and I've made some also looking over here. So here's my first landscape photo there at Blythe's Ferry, and this is 70 millimeters with the 24-70 f4, 13 seconds with the 6-stop neutral density filter, f8 and ISO 64. And if you look close, there is a great blue heron right here out in the distance, and some Canada geese over here. This tree will become important in a later photo. Here's my next landscape photography shot. This is 10 seconds, 45 millimeters f8, ISO 64. And in this one, I have my camera pointed a little more to the left. So these trees were not in the last image, but these trees, including this one that I'll point something out to you about it a little later, these trees were in the other photo, and the great blue heron is still hanging around right here. I like the smooth water with the long exposure, and I like the way the clouds look too. It was really windy, so there is some wiggling in the trees, and you probably heard some poor audio because of the wind hitting my microphone. Here's the last landscape photography shot. This is looking to the right, and I really like the way this shot turned out, except it was so windy, the trees are just blowing around all over the place. This is 58 millimeters, 10 seconds, f10, and ISO 64. I made a couple of weird low angle shots under this fishing pier. I don't know if I'm going to like them or not. I really didn't think I was going to share this weird shot of the dock with you, but I ended up sharing it with you. It's 4 seconds, 24 millimeters, f10, ISO 64. It's just okay, but I liked it enough to at least say, look, here's a picture I made. I've been waiting for some daylight. You know, I got here right at sunrise, and it's slowly getting brighter and brighter, and there's been a great blue heron over here fishing near the end of the little road here, and I've switched to the 180-600, and I'm going to try to get a shot or two of him. I got down as low as I could to get this great blue heron shot, and you can see its feathers are kind of blowing around. It was so windy this morning and cold. This was the first day, November 14th was the first day I went out to do photography, and I found it to be cold. 600 millimeters, 1/400th of a second, wide open at 6.3, ISO 900. And now I have a shot of the great blue heron in flight. I wasn't prepared for it to take off, so I'm only at 1/500th of a second. I really should have just zipped the shutter speed up to 1/1000th or more. But it turned out okay. There's a little motion blur in the tips of the wings, otherwise not bad. This is 350 millimeters, 1/500th, wide open at f6, and ISO 800 of the great blue heron in flight. Right over here where the water is down, there's exposed dirt, and there's these interestingly shaped, I want to call them tidal pools, but it's not tides here, but the water's down, and where the surface of the dirt is uneven, there are these little pools in all sorts of wonderful shapes, and they're reflecting the sky, and I made a few shots of them with the 180-600. This would look a lot better if this was sand and it was smooth instead of mud and all kind of gross looking. I love the patterns though of these puddles with the water reflecting the sky in them. I just wish the mud was smoother. This is 1/80th of a second f10, 180 millimeters, ISO 450. This is a 300 millimeter shot looking in the distance. I'm standing way further to the right than I was in the earlier landscape photography shots. And there is a great blue heron way over here that you can barely see. Another great blue heron here. Several ducks. There's a trio of Canada geese right out here. And up in that tree that I kept mentioning earlier in the video is, I believe, an immature bald eagle right here. It was not in this tree in those shots earlier, but there it is. I've come over here to Dayton Park now, and the last time I was at Dayton Park, I got some great blue heron and great egret shots. Today, nothing but a ring-billed gull so far. Got it right out of the car, just right by the little creek. They're still doing construction here. It looks like they're probably going to be doing construction here all winter, but I got the ring-billed gull in the grass right by the creek as it comes into the lake. So, kind of a spunky little bird. Here's the ring-billed gull shot that I made from the driver's seat of the car. I love the way this turned out. This is 370 millimeters wide open at f6, 1/640th of a second, and 640 ISO as well. Pretty cool shot of the ring-billed gull with his back to me and his face to me. So I like the composition of this. And just out of the frame here in front of this grass is asphalt. But he was standing in the grass and I was able to compose the shot with no asphalt in it. And it had rained this morning and you can see a lot of water droplets in this grass. I saw a belted kingfisher and managed to make a tiny in the frame shot of it. Here's the kingfisher shot that I did not think was going to be very good, but it turns out you can crop quite a bit with a Nikon Z8. This is 600 millimeters, 1/640th of a second, wide open at 6.3, and ISO 1000 of the beautiful belted kingfisher. There's a little kayak ramp here, and I managed to get a little bit better shot of the belted kingfisher driving the car all the way down to the bottom of the little kayak ramp. Of course, now the water's down, and at the end of the concrete, it's just dirt. But it is right by the little creek that comes into the lake. And so I got the kingfisher shot. And then while I was sitting here, a little pied-billed grebe came swimming by, swam right by the car. And I got pictures of both of them. Neither one of them are going to be fantastic, but it's definitely a better kingfisher shot than the one that I tried to get earlier. Now this shot of the kingfisher I thought was going to be much better than the previous shot, but actually, even though the bird is a little bigger in the frame, I think I like the previous shot better. But this one is 600 millimeters, 1/640th, f6.3, and the ISO is 3600. And this in the background is an American flag that was flapping in the breeze way in the distance at the marina that was probably 75 or maybe even 100 yards in the background. And here's the pied-billed grebe as it swims by at 600 millimeters, 1/640th of a second. Cute little bird. I wish I could have gotten a lower angle than this, but I would have had to get out of the car and then I would have spooked the bird. Today is November the 14th, and you can't go inside the Hiwassee Wildlife Refuge after today until, March the 1st. But I'll be up here at that gazebo where you really can't see it a lot, photographing sandhill cranes. But today's the last day that you can go down inside, and I'm going to take advantage of that. I walked all around the wildlife refuge, saw lots of birds. I didn't walk all around it, but I walked around quite a bit of it. Saw lots of birds, didn't really get any good pictures. I did see just the first of the sandhill cranes that will be here by the hundreds pretty soon. And I got one really bad picture of some as they flew by, and that was up near the observation area where I'll be able to go soon. So let's look at those sandhill cranes. And here is my first sandhill crane shot of the season, and ended up getting 5 sandhill cranes in this shot. The light was not good at all. I hope to get much better sandhill crane shots than this over the next several weeks there at the Hiwassee Wildlife Refuge. But it was still cool to see my first sandhill cranes. This is 1/2000th of a second, wide open at 6.3, 600 millimeters, and ISO 180. And now I'm going to call it a day. Can't wait to come back here many times over the winter and photograph sandhill cranes. I hope you enjoyed today's wandering around trying to find things to shoot video. If you did, reach down, hit thumbs up. That helps me out a lot. And if you want to see some more stuff like this, subscribe and hit the bell. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye-bye from the Hiawassee Wildlife Refuge.